joining me here in today's success story. So to give you guys some context on Abraar, he is, I think, about just under 4 weeks into the Deal Flux program and has already landed his first closing role, which is fantastic. So, Abraar, welcome, man. Do you want to give yourself a little bit of an introduction?
Well, I mean, you've done most of it for me. My name's Abraar. I'm 25 from Manchester. I've been a Deal Flux student for about 3, 4 weeks now, and honestly, the experience has been great. I come from a life of cold calling, which was my first job, and I just retired from a very successful career within the Merchant Navy. And having retired, I stepped into the life of corporate sales as a marine sales engineer, which I am currently still doing. And honestly, the 9 to 5 and the hours in the office and the commuting and the lack of financial reward really got me the motivation to look for something else, which is when I came across Zub, Dan, and Safik. And honestly, since coming on board, the process has just been unbelievable.
Beautiful, beautiful. What an introduction. So yeah, we'll break down deal flux a little bit later on in the interview. But I guess, do you want to give a bit of context in terms of like how long you've been looking into remote closing? I guess why you haven't pulled the trigger before and what made you pull the trigger by joining the deal flux program?
So I've been looking into remote closing approximately 6 months, maybe even 8 months now. And the thing that really attracted me to remote high ticket closing is you're able to leverage skills that you already have as opposed to going into a completely new venture and trying to start from zero basically. With remote high ticket closing, you're basically rewarded for your input. Your output is based on your input, which is what I really like and enabling me to sort of be in charge of my own paycheck, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, what I liked about your guys' program is that the amount of attention we get from you guys, as opposed to other sort of training academies, if you want to call it, or communities out there, because the other ones out there are quite saturated, which means you're not really getting that much from your mentors. Whereas with you guys, and you're all each specialized in a different part of the high ticket field, so to speak. The value we're able to extract out of that is what sort of attracted me mainly.
Yeah. Bro, do you know what? There's so many talking points that you just mentioned there. I think the first one being, obviously, you've been looking into remote closing for 6 months, and I think for the people that are watching this, that's such a relatable scenario that they've been looking into remote closing for a long time, but not necessarily pulled the trigger. And I think being able to get into a program like DealFlux allows people to actually just finally pull the trigger. And it's that classic saying that when you put a price tag on something, it makes it more valuable. And because you invested in yourself, bro, I think that's probably made like a mindset shift in your brain where it's like, okay, this is serious now. Let me actually fully focus on this and actually try and make it work, which is fantastic. And then the other thing I was going to say with the remote closing side is you obviously said you've been looking at it for 6 months and then you finally joined DealFlux. Before joining DealFlux, I guess, did you think about joining another program before or not really?
Yeah, I looked into a program called,
Yeah.
which you may be aware of. Um, I thought the program was interesting and it did attract me in some sort of sense, but in terms of sort of, let's say, value for money, so to speak, I think Deal Flux is not even a comparison because, as previously mentioned, you're getting a lot more bang for your buck, so to speak, with Deal Flux.
Okay, cool. That's fantastic. And you know what? Like with people wanting to start remote closing, one of the things I'd say, And also something that you briefly mentioned earlier is they want to get into remote closing, but they don't know exactly how to get into remote closing, how to necessarily secure a role, whether they think they've done enough. Like, there's so many questions on someone's mind that actually might make them procrastinate and stops them from actually taking any action and moving forward with remote closing. So just on that as well, in terms of like actually taking action and not procrastinating and not being able to do it yourself, why did you not decide to try get a remote closing role on your own, for example?
Um, well, I think obviously everybody sort of needs that mentorship and guidance because I probably could have done it on my own, but it would have took a lot longer because this famous saying, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So if if I were to do it by myself and make the mistakes, and you don't want to waste time, and life's short, why waste time and fail and then start all over again and then try and start the next thing by myself, but actually invested in myself. They say investment in knowledge pays the best interest. So I think looking back, I don't see it as a cost or an expense. I see it as an investment.
Yeah, no, definitely, bro. I mean, me, Dan, and Tafiq have all previously invested in ourselves as well. So we know how it is. Like you said, you don't know what you don't know. So being able to fast track things in life is very important, especially if you want to do well in life. And that's exactly what you've done, right? So that's fantastic. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about the program side of things. I know you have briefly covered it in your answers, but how have you found the program up until this point so far? I know we're only 4 weeks in, so I guess you can't give like a full perspective of it, but how have you found it so far?
What I like about the program is you can never finish it because you're never the perfect salesman, and there's always that extra to learn or always that extra guidance that you need,
Yeah,
which is great because you guys are always available for our answers, our questions, to give us answers on topics that we still need a little bit of help on, even going through all the courses, all the calls. Um, and it's not just a normal course like, okay, do it in 6 weeks and Tara on your bike. No, it's a community. It's you're on board with a bunch of mentors and a bunch of guys who are looking to improve themselves, not just financially, but also mentally as
yeah,
well. There's a big emphasis on mindset, which I feel like is probably the most important thing and maybe arguably the most neglected thing when people are looking to make that change, which also is why most people are reluctant in taking that first step as well, because they've got that mindset block of actually taking the step forward, because one, they probably don't have that much self-belief in them being able to achieve that, and two, also the fear factor. But having that mindset, and also I'm going to be honest that even I probably had that issue where there was the lack of self-belief, the fear, and stepping into deal flux that slowly washed away because there was such a big emphasis on the mindset.
yeah.
Probably my favorite part about the course so far.
Yeah, so true, bro. And I think it's something that a lot of people actually overlook is that mindset element. And it is so important. And it's actually the foundation for anything that you want to do in life. Like you said, if you have a lack of self-belief and you don't believe you're going to be able to achieve something, then you can't achieve it like already. It's impossible. So it's so important for the foundations. And I know you are only 4 weeks in, but to be able to like already have that realization is so important. And obviously moving forward, we hopefully going to get you into better and better roles and just start making that income through remote closing to be able to take you away from your 9 to 5. So in terms of, I guess, like the actual physical aspects of the deal flow. So what I mean by that is like the interviews. Now, do you want to give a bit of a breakdown in terms of the interviews you've had and also obviously the role that you've closed recently and how that came about, etc., etc.
Cool. Yeah. So, um, of course, the deal flux community is the main avenue for getting a job, but I didn't want to just solely rely on that. I wanted to be proactive because there is such a massive market of opportunity out there that also you have to take some of that into your own account, so to speak. So I did manage to book about 3 interviews by myself using the strategies that sort of Tafiq and Dan have guided us on, which have been really successful because they've got it down to a T in terms of what works and what owners, CEOs are looking for in terms of closers and appointment setters. So those interviews, they went really well, but the role that I was really interested in getting stuck into was actually through one of Dan's contacts.
Hmm.
So Dan set up the meeting, the interview, and really I just sort of walked into that role thanks to Dan.
Hmm.
And thanks to Tafiq and you guys as well for training me up to a point where I did become that hireable asset,
Mm.
and also guiding me post interview as well and post getting the job
Yeah.
in sort of onboarding me in terms of how to really structure the call and how to go about making those sales.
No, great point. Fantastic, bro. Thank you. And then now, I know obviously you talked about how mindset is probably your most favorite part about the program, but apart from mindset, what is, I guess, the thing that you enjoy the most about the Deal Flux program?
The community, 100%. They say that the average of the 4 people around you is basically you.
Yeah.
So I think probably the biggest problem in our society today is just being surrounded by uh, morons. I don't want to swear on YouTube, so and they sort of suck the energy and drain you down, and it leeches onto you and leeches onto your mindset, and you become a part of that. But
Mm.
being in the community with guys who want to make that change, want to improve themselves, and also being with guys who've done it before, you've got the sort of full spectrum from sort of breaking out of the matrix to broke out the matrix,
Yeah.
which gives you a flavor of each step of the process. And also, I mean, we have a lot of discussions and calls just between students without the mentors, just sort of talking about them behind their back, but also doing a little bit of role play and talking about just general stuff, which I think is probably my let's say joint favorite part with the mindset stuff.
Yeah. No, great point, bro. Like, apart from the talking behind our backs part, but you know what it is? It's so true. Like, I remember when was about 18 years old, people around me who are older than me would tell me, like, oh, you won't grow up being friends with the people that you were friends with at school. And when they used to say that to me, I used to think, oh, yeah, well, that's a load of bollocks, right? That's not going to happen. And it had to happen for me personally because there were people in my life who were really close to me, who were going down different paths, not wanting to be where I wanted to be. And I guess with Dealflux, being able to be surrounded by people like you said, right, who are on that same path, who want to get to the same places that you want to do, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. And if anything, like one of the problems with the whole online money space in general is it can be quite lonely, especially if you don't invest in something like Dealflux and have that community aspect. So we've really tried to put an emphasis on having that community aspect, making sure that there are live calls inside the group, and we can hopefully do in-person meetups as well, so everyone can meet each other in person. And yeah, it's just one of the, like you said, in my opinion, that is my favorite part about Dealflux as well.
Definitely.
And then I guess finally, bro, because I don't want to keep you here for too long, what would be your message to other people looking to join Dealflux?
What I'm going to say is it is scary in the beginning, taking that step and that leap of faith and that leap of trust. But the best thing is to book a call with Dan and Tafiq and Zub, and they'll walk you through the whole process and how they're going to get you from A to B. And with that information, you can make your own decision. And you're going to have to if you really want to get to that point in your life where you've got that financial freedom, so to speak, I mean, I'm still aiming for that, but you're gonna have to take action because
Mm.
God only rewards action takers. And
Yeah.
if you want to just stay where you are in your current situation, then do nothing.
Yeah. Bro, 100% again, and I think it links back to something you said earlier in terms of like risk taking and investing in something online. At the end of the day, whether we like it or not, is a risk, right? You
Yeah,
don't exactly know what you're going to be able to get out of it, and that's completely normal. And I think what actually limits some people is that risk element. They see it as an expense rather than an investment, like you also said earlier. And that mindset block is actually stopping them from getting, so much further in their life, so much quicker, like we mentioned. But yeah, well, thank you for coming on the interview, bro.
just
And
just before you end it, what's your favorite part about Deal Flux?
so, like I said earlier, it's the networking group, bro, genuinely. And I see the potential with the networking group as well. The in-person meetups are going to be so sick, and being able to see other people on the same journey as you is always such a great feeling, but especially when it's in real life. That's the one. Like being able to be surrounded by people, even though it is for like let's say a 6 hour meetup, is so good, bro. It's so good and it's so reassuring as well. Because I get it, especially when you're at the beginning stages, like obviously you by joining Dealflux. Sometimes it's not all up, up, up. You are gonna get ups, you're gonna get downs as well. And on those like down days, you're gonna feel like, oh, is this even possible? Or, can I actually get to where I want to get to? And then when you do things like in-person meetups, being surrounded by people like yourself, it really reassures you and it really shows you like, okay, like this can happen. And it's so true. And you'll get to see that at the next meetup that we host.
Definitely.
But
Can't
yeah.
wait.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for coming on the interview, bro. Thank you for answering the questions. I'm so happy with obviously your progress and how much you're enjoying the Dealflux program as well. And hopefully we'll be doing another interview in the next 30 days, bro, at the end of the 60-day program when obviously, we have some even more results to show everyone who's watching this video.